Well, it's been quite the week for Vladimir Putin. That's how I put it in another video, which is out by the time that this video is out. And it's been quite a week for Western gatherings, policy making, economics, lots of, well, also peace treaties or deals, if you believe in that sort of thing with the war in Iran. But we're going to be focusing on Russia and the economy and, of course, the war in Ukraine as well, because we are back with our monthly installment with Konstantin Samalyov of Inside Russia. And, well, as I say, Inside Russia, it was pretty hot, actually. I think if you're inside Moscow, at least, it was pretty hot and dark and dirty, because about 40% of Moscow's oil supply was affected because of the biggest single large drone strike, not just by Ukraine to Russia, but in the entirety of this war. 992 drones sent to Moscow, and quite the experience Moscovites are having, and certainly friends of mine, even family members, I've been told, seeing what it's like for many Ukrainians. But Konstantin, welcome to the show, as always. I really want to hear what you think about what's happening right now in Moscow.
Thank you very much for having me, Pyotr. Pictures speak louder than words, and videos speak even louder than pictures. I think we have all seen the videos at this point. I know the oil refinery that was hit. I know it quite well. Used to be one of our customers when I worked in Russia. Very large, very modern, upgraded refinery. And basically output was used in Moscow to fuel Moscovites. And you know what? This picture of, the oil refinery in Kapotnya getting hit on flames, hit on the hit, another after hit. When I lived in Moscow and worked there, the last thing on my mind, on all of our minds, was safety and security. I mean, none of us could even imagine that something like that was imaginable. It'd be like a sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? These things just didn't happen. And I was just looking at the footage. I was talking to people in Moscow on the side. I was also talking to my friends, former colleagues, and some relatives. And that is such the regression of Russia. You know, it regressed from being a fairly normal country to Moscow being bombed heavily by hundreds of drones, unopposed from Russian air defense system, which proved to be fairly non-existent. Okay, this is the first bombing of Moscow since World War II, since the 40s of the 20th century. And when Russia attacked Ukraine, Putin claimed that was for Russia's and Russian people's security and safety. Well, I guess we are seeing what kind of safety this war has brought to not just to Russia, but to Moscow, because Moscow is extra protected. You know, Moscow is always extra cared by the Russian state. And we're seeing destruction, massive destruction, not just the oil refinery, but there's a very large wholesale market called Sadovod. It was hit as well. Not sure if it was a direct hit or they shot down some drones and the fragmentations fell, but there was fire. So it's not just Moscow, it's facilities. It's not just the oil refinery, facilities around as well. So really hard to comment here. I mean, we're seeing everything for ourselves.
Well, comment because it's personal, or comment because it's the scale of it is just difficult to comprehend?
It's difficult to comprehend the situation. You know, that Moscow is being bombed. Russian state was selling for 4 years. They were selling Russian people this picture perfect. And about the economy, about the, security, safety, and so forth. And, a couple of weeks ago, St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Putin's poster child, his favorite toy, bombings there. And it happened with a bunch of black smoke clouds right in front of the windows where all delegates of the forum were. And now Moscow, and yesterday massive bombing, another attack, and another attack today. I don't know I don't know what to comment. Really, it's just it's bad.
It is. It's well, it's difficult to really put into words, isn't it? The extent to which this is affecting the city, affecting everything that I think Russians have taken for granted, like that, isn't it? Really, yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. It's quite challenging, actually. I've been to the city many times. I'm not going to say I have some kind of real deep, meaningful connection with Moscow, but it's still a city that I went to quite a few times in a personal context, and well, it's you get a sense of what people on the other side have having to be dealt with for 4 years or 12 years if you go back to 2014. So yeah, but
It's
I
a
think the big
very good
distinction
point.
here.
Piotr, you made a very good point. You know what I've noticed? And I think it's worth mentioning here today.